First, I'd like to say thank you to you. And I have a question, but I wanted to start with a story that kind of illustrates, I think, some of the things that we discuss in your seminars. We drove here from Louisville, and there was a bit of contrast along the way, right? The things that happen that you notice that you don't like, or that don't go the way you think they should go, or what you're expecting. One of those things was we arrived at the hotel here late, and the room we were in was had a very musty smell to it, and we're sensitive to that. A previous trip, we had another experience like that. So we called and asked to see if we could be changed from the room, and they couldn't do it. They were full, and we ended up having to go off campus to another hotel. Came back in the morning. We're rushing a little bit to get here, and got parked and everything. Came into the seminar just in time, just made it here. Actually, they couldn't print our name tags. You know, all those little things, right, that could draw your attention to becoming frustrated or aggravated about things. And then we come into the seminar, and we're feeling all this good energy, right, this positiveness that we're dealing with. And so I got up at one of the breaks because they did have a room for us. They were going to switch us last night. I went and spoke to the man at the counter. Very pleasant, remembered, yes, so sorry about last night. Oh, it's perfect, no problem. Here's your new room key. And it was all just like going much better, right? It felt like it was really working out. And that's what you start to attract that, right? You want that. You don't want to focus on the negative. You want to focus on that. So, came back and told my wife everything was great. Well, I still had to go back to the other hotel to get things that we'd left there. So I left early from yesterday's conference, and when I was speaking to John at the counter, he asked me where I parked. I said, we had to go into Vanderbilt, and they gave me this ticket. Let me have that ticket back. Here's your key card. You'll be able to go in and out, no problem. Wonderful, right? You just think everything's working out great. So I leave early, get down to the garage, and I'm pulling out, and there was a time limit, so I was feeling a little bit of stress, and the car in front of me was a big vehicle like mine with a bunch of people in it, though, and they were like stuck at the gate. They weren't going out, right? And I was getting a little frustrated, so I started to think some negative thoughts again, like being aggravated by it, right? But then I said to myself, just relax, it's all going to work out. It's just going to be a few seconds. Just take your mind off of it, kind of. But they're still stuck, right? And like the guy's trying to get his key card in and out, and then the machine spits something out onto the ground. Well, the guy in the back seat had to get out. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm tapping my foot, and I'm thinking, let's not focus on that. Let's move on. And they go, right? And so I pull up to the gate, right? And they're a little confusing because there's like places to put all kinds of different cards and buttons and stuff. No problem. I slide my card in, and it's like this little rejected thing comes up, like your card isn't found, right? Your card's not found. And I said, I adjusted myself, and I said, that's not possible. I just went through this with John, right? So I put the card in, and then it reads, okay, great, stick your ticket in. I was like, well, John took my ticket. I don't have the ticket. This is not the way this is supposed to be going. I don't have the ticket. So I thought, then I'm trying to look, because you start to get a little flustered, right? And I was looking at all the things on this, and all of a sudden my attention is drawn to a button that says, I lost my ticket. And I said, I didn't lose my ticket, but I'll press that button. I mean, if that'll make this gate go up, I'll admit to it. I lost my ticket. Let's have the gate go up. And so I pressed, I lost my ticket. And then it flashed like, thank you, whatever, but then it said $15. And I said, no, I'm not paying $15. First of all, I didn't lose my ticket. John took my ticket. And I was told this was all going to be just fine, right? I was told that. So no, I'm not going to pay $15. And then I started thinking to myself, where's the button for help? Like there should be something on here that says, you're having a problem, we'll come help you. You're having a legitimate issue, and we'll come help you. I couldn't see that anywhere. And then I'm starting to get anxious because there's cars behind me, right? And I start saying to myself, okay, I'm sorry I said what I said about those other people. I did not mean that. I didn't mean, okay, I apologize. I'm sorry. Can we the gate just go up? Could the gate just go up? And then I see the button that says assistance. I'm like, You know, it was right there the whole time. I pressed the button, and I'm saying, God, I hope John picks up, because he'll know what's going on, right? He'll know he took my ticket. They'll send someone out, something will happen. And there's no response. There's literally no response. And so I'm like, okay, you say these things to yourself. What's your path of least resistance, right? And after, I'm thinking about this sitting in the audience. What?
Murder.
No, so then I'm thinking, this little dog won't bite you, this little dog won't bite you. I said, what if I bite the dog? What if I look at the thing, I look at the gate thing, and I'm like, I can drive through that. I'm justified here. I'm justified. I'm the victim. I've been wronged. I didn't get the room I wanted last night. I've been told I could drive out, right? Okay, so, but then I calmed down. Frustration,
anger,
it was.
Revenge,
yes. Anger, all those things.
All justified.
But then I look in my side view mirror, and now there's like 4 cars, right? And I'm thinking, I'm just so embarrassed. I'm totally embarrassed. And furthermore, I'm supposed to be good at these things. I'm a man. Like, this machine can't, what's the problem here? So then I say, fine, I'm just going to pay the $15 because I don't want to ruin everybody's day, right? And I'm feeling, and I was like, John will take care of it. Somehow it'll work out, right? I get back into alignment. Like, I stop all this aggravation and everything.
Not really, but all right.
But okay. No. And you're the boss, right? So but I felt it. I look over at my wallet. I'm like, just take your credit card out. I talk to myself, just put it. I try to walk myself through the steps. Just put it in there, pay, get your receipt. You'll be up there. I go to turn back around, and there's this hand with a white card, and they're flashing it over this part. And this person says to me, there you go, sir. Have a wonderful afternoon. Literally. And I'm shocked. I'm like, who are you? Where'd you come from? And I'm like, the button worked. They don't even talk. They just send someone out. Right? And I look over my shoulder, and the gate goes up. Right? I'm like, is this really happening? And the gentleman gets in the car behind me. And I'm like, I just said, thank you, guys. Thank you so much, And it was one of those things where it was like, all that happened in the span of probably 6, 7, 8 minutes at the most.
Seemed like way longer.
It did. But then I drove off, and everything seemed like the universe was whole again, right? I felt so good about it. I was like, this was just brought to me, and it feels like I was so in alignment, and I worked through everything, all these in milliseconds, So I feel like that happens to me a lot. I do. I feel like... Don't laugh at me. I mean,
we are not laughing.
I know, like all those things. But in the end, it's like always working out because I've learned the mantra. There's nothing serious going on here. There's nothing wrong. You can't ever get it wrong. You don't ever get it done. All those nice things that are kind of like comforting. Like I felt loved again. I felt like even though I was justified, I was the one that was wronged here. This wasn't working for me, but that it all worked out, right? And so I feel that in life. I feel that with you, I feel that with my wife. We bicker at times, but it's always working out. But my question to you is...
whoops, we're out of time.
With all of that that I feel is truly positive, like I just felt blessed yesterday. It was a beautiful day. The sun was out. I was driving. We came back here. Everything worked out wonderfully.
You're sort of schizophrenic, It
is, but it's, I enjoy it. Obviously, I revel in it a little bit. But my point being,
next.
But my point being, I still feel like I'm just bouncing around with that. Like things are working out for me, but I feel stuck and lost at times with either who I am.
Well, what you're describing is pretty representative of almost everyone in the room relative to so many things. And what it's about reacting to life. Another way of saying it is a sort of conditional. In other words, when this happens, I feel this way. When this happens, I feel this way. Well, of course, that's what you're going to have. That's what the step 1 moments are about. But if it's a step 1 moment, it feels one way. If it's a step 5 moment, it feels another way. So the difference between whether 6 minutes of your life feels like a step 1 moment, which is contrast, that is launching rockets of desire, but it's still contrast, or a step 5 moment where you're still in alignment, witnessing the contrast from the viewpoint of your inner being, what makes the difference between whether you're living a lot of step 1 moments or a lot of step 5 moments, because you see, whether it's a step 1 moment or a step 5 moment, you still receive the benefit of the bounce. But the difference between a step 1 moment and a step 5 moment is in the step 1 moment, you're still in resistance, and so you're still not in the receiving mode. Where in the step 5 moment, you still get the bounce, but you receive the benefit of understanding all of that. And so from what you're describing to us, we want to acknowledge that you are much closer to a step 5 moment than you were a step 1 moment. That's why you came out of it feeling better, or at least all right. But we want to add something really important to this, and that is that once you decide that far better than being someone who reacts to life, I want to be someone who prepaves it. I want to be someone who carves the path out. And you said the word expected early on in your conversation. And we almost stopped you to offer some clarification there, because expectation has a lot to do with what's going on in your now moment. And what you've lived before has a lot to do with what you expect. Some people would say it would take a crazy person to not acknowledge what has happened and then remember it and then compensate for it. So most people, we like this so much. Most people adjust their expectation through stronger responses and being that man that knows what to do. And we want you to change your expectation vibrationally by prepaving the energy in advance. Because not only will you not anytime soon get anywhere near one of those gates without having that sort of feeling. And so what we're suggesting in a step 5 moment, you catch your balance in the middle of the moment more. Because if you're hearing what we're saying, that deliberate creating and living happily ever after is about prepaving, it's about path of least resistancing, then you got to take that seriously and ask yourself, I can't just take the path of least resistance when it's easy. I want to take the path of least resistance when it's not easy. I want to carve out a path of least resistance every single time. I want to look for the positive aspects every single time. And as you start hearing that, now do you hear how satisfaction process has evolved just now? If I take path of least resistance, and what's the path of least resistance? The path of least resistance is how I feel. It's easy to be satisfied when things are going well, so much so that almost the whole physical human world live very conditional lives. If things are going good, they feel good. If things aren't going so good, they feel bad. And then, because you're living conditional lives, and because you can't control the conditions, then you feel like you don't have any control. But when you decide, hey, there's only one situation that I seek control over, and that's my vibrational relationship with my inner being, who is already meeting me 99% of the way. And if I will just make just the smallest, and it's a very small focus, eventually it gets so small that you just do it innately or naturally. So it feels like you hardly skip a beat between something that you feel worried about and something that you realize there's no reason to feel worried about anything. Everything is always working out for me. Things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me. No matter how anything looks, things are always working out for me. So this is a wonderful conversation. It's about expectation, and expectation is about what are you taking away from moments in time. And what you take away from a moment in time, hear it, is the most important thing we've said ever to anyone ever, not just in these days we've been together. Your thought is where you last left it. It doesn't matter how many times you've thought it. It doesn't matter what your expectation has been. What you just did just now, where you last left it, is where it matters. That's why this satisfaction game is such an important game. When you focus and you're tuned in, information flows to you, and you get to do sort of amazing things that you have not done before. That's when someone can insult you and you can love them anyway. That's when things can be going wrong and you can still trust in the well-being of your own personal experience and that of the planet. the step 5 is what you're reaching for, because you want the contrast, because you want expansion. And without contrast, there is no expansion. And the expansion is what this is all about. This joyful, continuing unfolding, this eternal, infinite life that we are all a part of.